Hey guys, it's Glenn here from jazzpianolessons.tv. Today we're looking at modes and basically just kind of what are they, how do we use them. Alright, so modes, you may have heard it before, you may not. But basically modes are just different variations of a major scale or a minor scale or something like that. But basically all we need to do really is, I don't know if you can see this here. Yep, okay, you can probably just see that here. We're going to look at modes in two different ways. So here's our C major 7 chord, and I'm going to play a C major scale. Okay, now that C major scale is actually a mode within itself. It's called the Ionian mode, which just means it's the first mode of the major scale. Now if I start on D and go through to D but play the notes of C major, I have what's called the D Dorian mode, and we've looked at Dorian modes already in jazz at jazzpianolessons.tv. You can go check that out. If I continue the same thing, so I'm going to stay with the C major and I'm going to continue on. I've got the third mode of C. You know, it's still C major kind of, right? But obviously that doesn't sound like a major scale. That's the third mode of C major, or we call that E Phrygian, P-H-R-Y. I'll write that down in a second. And then starting on the F, we have Lydian, and then we have Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. They're the modes of the major scale. They're the only ones we're working on today. So if you can have a look at this visually with the notation, here's a major scale, and I've written it out almost to 2 octaves. I haven't put the last C in there, but you can see C to C here, C to C, do that. That's the major scale, the Ionian scale. D to D is the Dorian mode. E to E is what we call the Phrygian mode. F to F is the Lydian. G to G, or the fifth to the fifth, right, is the Mixolydian. The sixth note to the sixth note is the Aeolian, or sometimes called the natural minor as well. And the seventh to the seventh, should we go there? The seventh to the seventh is the Locrian. Okay, and I'm going to put all this up on the website too, in terms of the actual spelling of the modes and all that kind of stuff too. You'll be able to see that there. But you can see that that's how we derive it. It's similar to how when we thought about chords and major 7th chords, and we just did, that's the 1 chord of C, this is the 2 chord of C, it's a minor chord, here's the 3 chord of C, and it's a minor chord as well, the 4 is major and the 5 is dominant. It's the same sort of thing. We're doing C, it's still C major, or it's C major. There's obviously different ways to kind of approach this, in the same way that we approach minor chords as, you know, we could say, okay, well, you can just do it as the 2nd chord of C if you want to. The dominant you could do as the 5th, 2, 5, 1. That's where we get our 2, 5, 1. But the other way to think of it is, you might want to lower the 3rd and the 7th from whatever the major scale was. There's D major scale, to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's our D major chord. When we lower the 7th, we get a dominant chord, and when we lower the 3rd as well, we get our minor 7 chord. Okay, so that's 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. We can kind of do the same thing when we think about modes as well. There's D major. So to play D Dorian, we need to lower the 3rd note. To make all the black notes turn into white notes, or we need to lower the F sharp, and we need to lower the C sharp. lowered third and a lowered seventh. Just like in a minor chord, we have a lowered third and a lowered seventh. So you can see here, here's our D major scale with the two tetrachords, the upper and the lower tetrachord there. When I lower the third and I lower the seventh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then I get what's called D Dorian, okay? Or you can see that's the second mode of C. If I brought this D down here, get rid of this D and put it down here onto the C, well then you can see I've got the notes of C major scale. Now this is true for whatever scale we decide to do. So if we're doing E flat major, for example, here's E flat major. If you're not sure of major scales, go check out my video on that. So we've got our E flat major scale there. Now if I take the E flat here and I put it up to the next, what would be the next note, right, which is the F, you'll see that I have the second mode of E flat, right, which just happens to be F Dorian. Okay, now the other way to think of it is we were thinking of it before, so Dorian is either the second mode or it's flat 3, flat 7 from what you would normally think of. Here is F major. Okay, we're not thinking about E flat major at the moment, right? But if I lower the third, 1, 2, 3, and I lower the seventh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then I've got, you know, I'm back with F Dorian, and I'm in the key of E flat major, right? So that's how you can think of it in two different ways. You can think of a mode is either like the second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth, etc., seventh of a major scale, or you can think of it as flat 3, flat 7 if it's a Dorian, and then for the other ones, it's, you know, they're all different ones. So it's two different ways. I would recommend actually learning both ways of learning them. So the Ionian, that whiteboard marker's not working real well. I'm going to use the red. We'll see is, you know, it has nothing, right? It's the major scale. So I'll just put here Maj, okay? Major scale. The Dorian, which is our second mode, if you don't want to think of it as the second mode, think of it as flat 3, flat 7. Here's G major scale, G Dorian, flat 3, flat 7. Okay, if you want to think of the next one here is Phrygian. Always get a little bit confused with the spelling there. Phrygian, and it's flat 2, flat 3, flat 6, and flat 7. If you think of E major, it's got the 4 sharps, right? We'll just do E major really quickly there. It's got the 4 sharps, F, C, G, D, and what you'll find, you know, to make that an E Phrygian, which is the third mode. So in other words, to turn that into a C major scale, starting on E and finishing on E, you need to bring down the 2 and the 3 and the 6 and the 7. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter what scale you're doing. If you're doing A flat major or whatever, you know, it would be the same process. Here's A flat major. Let's get rid of those for a sec. A flat major. Okay, now to turn that into A flat Phrygian, I need to lower the second, lower the third, lower the 6, so I've got to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, here's the 6. Now lower the 7th, that's going to be the 7th there. Oops, I'm going too far. Alright, so there's our A flat Phrygian, okay? A flat Phrygian, which is in the key of, you might have noticed here, well, we've got an F, a C, and a G, and a D. That's just a repeated note there, the G sharp there. It's in the key of E major. So there is G sharp Phrygian. I hope that makes sense of how you can do it. Now, you use the same sort of principle to do all the other ones there. So Locrian, I'll bring this down here. Sorry, Lydian. Lydian is not a flat, but a sharp 4. Okay, so C Locrian would be have an F sharp in it. Mixolydian has a flat 7, and run out of room there. I'll just do it over here. You can see those there, guys. So we've got Mixolydian, so we've got Aeolian, or the natural minor, which is flat 3 and flat 6 and flat 7. I think you can just see that there still. And we've got Locrian, which is, I'm going to do it down here because there's lots of them. Flat 2, flat 3, flat 5, flat 6 and flat 7. Alright, I hope that helps in how to look at modes. We'll look at in the next video. I'll very quickly look at how do you apply those modes depending on what chords you're playing. Okay, so we're going to look at that really briefly in the next lesson. Alright, catch you then.